One of Philadelphia's most important players heading into 2025 just dropped a major update on his injury rehab that might actually open the door for an unsuspecting backup. Plus, what Jalyx and Nolan did this week to help terrorize quarterbacks going forward, when Nakobe Dean continues to look way better than ever expected. Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. With all the free agent signings, pre- and post-draft buzz, and of course OTAs and minicamp, a lot of us Eagle fans forgot about perhaps the most important injury recovery to watch as we head into training camp just 25 days from today. Cam Jurgens has been quietly recovering from back surgery following an extremely gritty Super Bowl performance where he dominated the Chiefs, all while playing through the type of pain most players would not even attempt. And of course, his reward for not only winning the Super Bowl, but taking over Jason Kelce's mantle in a near-flawless fashion and becoming one of the best centers in the game, Philadelphia inked him to a brand new 4-year deal this offseason, securing his future in Philly for the long run. But all that aside, the big questions right now are, where is Cam Jurgens post-surgery, because he did have some sort of undisclosed back surgery during the offseason, and will he be ready for training camp? And, well, those questions were finally asked by Ross Tucker on his podcast the other day, and the answers, they sound pretty solid.
It takes a little bit to get over the hump, but still, I mean, playing through that pain, I feel like a new man. It feels like completely different, so it's nice to, keep getting back and going through rehab and training and get to play a season healthy. So I'm excited. Yeah, a lot of that nerve, it helps with the nerve pain a lot. You're going to get that relief pretty quick. And then, it's just tightness and stiffness and working through it and, the normal stuff after surgery. But still, post-op to pre-op, it was so much better.
Do you think you'll be good for camp, or do you know?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, that's all the plan, trying to be and do everything I can, especially for that first game.
Also, I'm super pumped to go ahead and announce that the Thomas Mott Show is now available in podcast form. I've had a ton of you guys who are truck drivers, delivery drivers, people who are on the go all the time asking for the show on Spotify, and so now it is. I'll link it down below. If you could help me out and go there and rate it 5 stars, it'll help the SEO search go up. And so even if you want to watch on YouTube, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I'll link down below and help me grow my podcast. Okay, so it does sound like Jurgens will be at training camp. He was technically at OTAs, just not really practicing. But I read the slight hesitation in his voice when he answered the training camp question, as he will be slowly worked back into the fold with the ultimate goal of getting back to 100% in time for week 1, not week 1 of training camp. And naturally, this makes sense. You want your center to be 100% for the games that actually matter, but I do think this does mean you've got to keep an eye on rookie center Drew Kendall, who might get some early starter reps in training camp and especially in preseason, which is quite the opportunity for the 5th rounder of Boston College, who a lot of people thought was maybe going to convert to guard or just backup center and not do much this season. But I do think we expect Cam Jurgens to be slowly brought along during training camp, which right now, you know why. Don't be alarmed, he's going to be ready for week 1. Now, staying with the injuries and offseason training theme, how about a quick Instagram story update on Nakobe Dean, who was seen here doing some hurdles, which is very impressive, and also jumping rope just the other day. And once again, I don't know about you, he looks extremely good for a guy coming off a brutal knee injury that a lot of people think will mean he's not going to start the season week 1. Now, Dean has said all along he wants to be ready to go week 1. He told me that in the NovaCare Complex a couple of weeks ago. He said that subsequently to reporters. I still think he's going to be slow walk. That way he's closer to 100% like Cam Jurgens for week 3, week 4, week 5. But I'll continue to say this. For all the news out there that he's going to be real slow to get back, it's going to be a brutal return. So far, all the videos we keep getting shown, Nakobe Dean looks very, very impressive. And this is another one that you kind of go, okay, maybe he's way further along than we think. I do think the fact that it's a contract year, plus how impressive he really was before the injury in 2024, and Philadelphia adding in some more young linebackers, especially during the draft, has added a ton of extra motivation for Nakobe. And personally, I'm not counting out Nakobe Dean just yet. Like, even if he can't go week 1, let's say he's back week 5, who knows? If he gets close to 100%, this linebacker duo that was so great last year will continue in 2025. And also, just side note, speaking of the linebacker duo real quick, we just appreciate that PFF just listed their top linebacker groups in the NFL heading into 2025, and guess who was number 1? The Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, this time last year, Philadelphia didn't have a single linebacker even ranked inside the top 32. Now their unit as a whole is number 1. Honestly, what a time to be alive. Now, moving to the defensive line position, how about both Nolan and Jalyx being invited this year to Max Crosby's Sack Summit in Las Vegas this past week, where both Smith and Hunt got to work out alongside the best pass rushers, not only in the NFL right now, but also the greats before them. including this video shot by Brian Baldinger of Nolan Smith getting some one-on-one tips from legendary Colts edge rusher Robert Mathis.
Nolan Smith go through the drill that Robert Mathis right here just talked about. Just see the agility of Nolan Smith right here. Spin, drop, ice pick, Nolan. There we go, nice. We're working out here at the Sack Summit right now.
For as much as Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean have taken over the DB group as the next up-and-coming greats who are still very, very young, Nolan Smith and Jalyx are 100% embracing, especially this offseason, the fact that they're the two best edge rushers on the Eagles and have a chance to take over, dominate, and be here for the long run. And the hype is through the roof. We know this, especially for Jalyx Hunt, but that was backed up by Brandon Graham, who was on Josh Davis' show earlier this week, saying that Hunt, at least in BG's eyes, looks incredible this offseason. Everything we're hearing is true, but he still has a lot of pressure heading into year 2.
Well, I'm expecting him to take that starting role and never look back. But, it's not going to be easy. You got to go out there and you got to prove it every day. And I think he will do that. He already looking good, looking stronger, look bigger, from, just trying to gain muscle. And I think he's doing it the right way. It's just all about making sure that you are available when it's time and making sure that you working hard every day in practice. And once I see that, then you can really tell, because it's a daily walk, man. Everybody can look good in the beginning in the OTAs. Everybody come in looking all good. But when you get hit in the mouth a little bit, and now that you're the starter, you're getting cussed out a little more because now is nobody else you can run to because you are the guy. And so I just want him to continue to just keep being great. Don't drink that. What was it? Perfume. That's what he say, the cologne. He's like, sniff it, but don't drink it because it's poison. And so, I feel like for him, he got to make sure that he ain't drinking that success for last year because it ain't going to carry you into this year. It's a great thing to keep that chip on your shoulder, though, because now you got somewhere else to aspire to get that next one. And but you got to have a refocus, and you can't think that what you did last year is going to get you even more this year, but you got to make sure that you stay focused. And I think he will.
And all this likewise, despite losing Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, and BG on the defensive line, PFF has Philadelphia right now as the second best defensive line heading into 2025. Again, what a time to be alive, part 2. Now, of course, just because we have all this footage of people training, including A.J. Brown doing his workouts in Philadelphia during the heat this past week, doesn't mean someone else on the Eagles can't take a break here and there and have some fun. Cooper DeJean, Sidney Brown, Jason Kelsey, and a bunch of other birds appeared at the annual Ocean Drive Eagles Autism Foundation party this weekend. Kelsey's case might have had a little bit too much fun. Still, it was rookie sensation Cooper DeJean who was the clear star of the show, so myself and Josh Davis talked about during our weekly live stream earlier this week. The pressure's on.
But Cooper DeJean, everyone's dubbed him even as far back as last season, the best slot corner in the NFL. You can't get better than that. So is it too much pressure at this point to go like the first time he gets burned on something, goes, oh my gosh, what's wrong with Cooper DeJean, right? Like, so there's even some of those elements too of the guys that we know are proven or a lot more proven. But, they go out there and if they have one mistake, is it unrealistic expectations?
Well, I actually talked about this on my show because I was doing people that might have a little bit too much pressure. They're make or break candidates. And I threw Cooper DeJean in there and I prefaced it. I was like, this is not because I think Cooper DeJean is going to be bad. I just think that Cooper DeJean went from, we talked to the Eagle people behind the scenes when we were at the NovaCare complex about this very thing. It's like the meteoric rise of Cooper DeJean is really the blueprint to becoming an NFL star that's a non-skill position, a non-quarterback, a non-wide receiver, non-running back, from nobody to superstar in year 1. Like, it is the blueprint. We forget that this time last year, Cooper DeJean was coming off a good OTA, and he's good at OTAs, but still, focus was on Quinyon Mitchell because DeJean was a second-round draft pick, didn't know where he was going to play. DeJean gets hurt immediately in training camp, but we don't see him. Like, I remember I have all my footage kind of chronicled in my hard drive, and I'm looking for Cooper DeJean training camp footage. There is none. I mean, because the guy basically didn't play in training camp until that final preseason game where he actually didn't have that great of a preseason performance in pass coverage. A couple of nice stops up front against the Vikings, but not a lot in terms of on the backside in that game. Then he basically doesn't play until after the bye week. I mean, the one main Cooper DeJean memory I have from those first 5 weeks is his muffed punt return where Jahan Dotson runs into him against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was it.
Yeah.
Like, that was the only Cooper DeJean we really talked about. Then he has that, patented stop on fourth down against Jamar Chase, and then you just started building and building. It's a much better showing against the Rams a couple of weeks later. Tackling of Derrick Henry, but then going into the Super Bowl, Josh, that pick six has vaulted him into superstar territory. And I think that there is a real kind of thing to be not worried about here or, concerned, but DeJean is, I'm sure, is worried about it. I'm not worried about it, but thinking about it now, there's a lot of pressure there. He's got a top podcast. He went from like 50,000 followers on Instagram to over 1 million. He's getting all these media requests. He is the it dude in Philadelphia right now. He's also a young, good-looking single guy. I'm sure he's getting all the DMs he could possibly want. I mean, he's the king of Philly right now, Josh. And you just got to sit back and wonder, okay, take it up. You got to improve a little bit going into next year because everybody's going to expect it. But the good news is, if he improves by 5%, based on what he did last year, especially in the playoff run, the guy's going to be an absolute stud and just continue to grow this legend into a household name. He'll be the Troy Polamalu of the Philadelphia Eagles if he continues to go ahead and grow, and I totally think he will. It's just a lot of pressure for a 21, 22-year-old guy that probably had no clue he'd be in this situation even if he had a decent first year.
Yeah, I don't think that he figured he'd be getting mobbed as people see in the Ocean Drive at Seattle City.
Yes. He's the Philadelphia Eagle
he is. Yeah, I love his reaction though too. He's like, you just got to get out of here because there's so many people, and he totally embraces it. Not that I don't think he's like done with it, but yeah, it's got to be a lot, and you can see that there. Most times it's a Cooper DeJean is at any moment it's going to be a sold out crowd. People like, oh yeah, let's get there. So all the Eagles, obviously very good cause. So if you're looking to support, by the way, because it's supporting the Eagles Autism Foundation there, you can do that at the Eagles Autism site. You can donate at any time, but a fantastic causes we've been a part of, taken part, gotten to attend, obviously the NovaCare Complex and others. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Cooper DeJean does. I'm interested for the experiment in itself. He's checked every box. He's lived up to the expectations as we're talking about
100%.
The hype. There was a slower build, granted, as you're referencing and kind of going through with the hamstring injury that he suffered. But you could almost see it from OTAs even of Vic Fangio does not usually throw so much at rookies unless he trusts them. And then you're going like, man, why? Coop is playing in the slot. He's playing a little bit outside. He's getting all these reps. They're also putting him at punt returner. Like, they believe a ton in this dude's football ability. He's a football player. And so then, you're like, all right, well, now he's going to get to start. I didn't expect this. I thought he would be good. Did not expect it as quickly. For him to end the Super Bowl on his birthday, picks it like it's a Cinderella story. Like, it's just fantastic. It doesn't get any better than that. But now we go into year two, and I'm very curious because OTAs is always those limited glimpses of like some dude can look fantastic, and you can say a little bit in training camp, but not as much so. OTAs, some dude could look fantastic, and you might get a look and you're like, wow, that's going to happen, and it doesn't. Training camp, little bit different story. You start to get Cooper DeJean is playing at corner, and he's first team corner, and he continues to be first team corner and not slot. Right. Then you start to go, well, okay, so something's maybe different, wrong with Keely Ringo. Maybe they don't believe in it there, feel better about Cooper DeJean. Or they've got this experiment going, which they've talked about, like, okay, corner, slot, safety even perhaps. I don't know that I'm necessarily going there, but he's just so good. They have to get him out there on the field. So I'm trusting the Eagles. I think Fangio knows what he's doing, obviously. So does Christian Parker. But I'm very curious to see where Cooper DeJean ends up, or if it's just this hybrid role throughout the season. You're kind of like, he's kind of roaming, like he'll be all over the place. He can play all three positions.
Well, just to be clear, like I think both of us are not saying that we expect Cooper DeJean to be bad or that he's going to take a step back.
For sure.
Just basically pointing out that if we're talking about players who are under pressure, DeJean has a lot of extra pressure based on the stardom that he built. All signs are pointing to Cooper DeJean becoming a superstar in the National Football League. I mean, like we just said, there wasn't a better blueprint to go from nobody to somebody in the NFL, not named a quarterback or a wide receiver, than DeJean had. And Vic Fangio giving him all of these different, signs of trust, or what I call them. Safety, nickel, corner, those are all very different positions with a lot going on up here, especially if he has to make changes in the middle of a game. I mean, if he goes, all right, in the 4-3 defense, you're going to be, a safety. And then when we go to nickel, you're going to be the nickel guy. And then dime, that's a lot to ask a second-year player. And we keep saying this about Vic Fangio and why we love him so much. Vic Fangio does not care who you are. Literally, if Jalen Carter was struggling, do you think Vic Fangio would play him 78, 88, 98% of defensive snaps? 0% chance.
No chance.
He does not care. If Thomas Booker is playing better than Jalen Carter, Thomas Booker would be out there. Same goes for Cooper DeJean. If Cooper DeJean was struggling going into year 2, or was struggling at the end of last year, they would have slid Avonte Maddox in there and not even batted an eye. They would not have cared because it's Vic Fangio. And now, I don't know about you, but Vic Fangio has, the longest leash possible. I remember going into last year, it was like, okay, Vic Fangio, okay, we had one of his disciples in Sean Desai. I don't know. Maybe that system's washed. He just came from Miami. They hated him. His leash was pretty short. It was like, fingers crossed this old guy still got it. Now, Vic Fangio has run of the mill. He can do whatever he wants. It's one of those like auto leashes that just keeps giving, leeway because he can go as long as he wants because he just shut down Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl and didn't blitz a single time. And so he can do whatever he wants, and that's playing any guy he wants. And the fact that he wants Cooper DeJean out there is the biggest stamp of approval that anybody could possibly give. Way more than you and me being like, yeah, I think he can do it. It's like, no, Vic thinks he can do it. And if Vic thinks you can do it, you definitely can do it.
Yeah, he can be with the Eagles until he retires. There's no doubt. Like he said that he wants to, but I think he's already got that blank check of, okay, just let us know. You tell us when you're done. Cool. Otherwise, you just stick around. All the sound bites. You got the right guys who are buying into that. Also, yes, Miami was ready to run him out of town. They practically did. And they didn't have the players that necessarily want to be coaches hard. They didn't want to have to stick around in the building. Now, where it's not to the full extent, because I know some people saw the Kendall Lamb statement that was made up or taken out of context. It was very strange because I'm not going to name specifically. I don't want to throw people under the bus because everyone makes mistakes. But a beat writer who had attributed it to ESPN, and it was not a quote that he actually said about the Miami culture being terrible. But, we've read between the lines. It is a very believable statement. So when that first came out, I was like, oh, right. I would totally believe that. I would totally buy that. And so anyway, not long story short, but Kendall Lamb did not say that specifically, but we've heard from other players at Miami publicly. Andrew Rosenhaus, who's an agent for several of those, that's like, yeah, some guys in the building don't necessarily care for Fangio. Different side of the ball, naturally, with Lamb. But I was just looking at this too, because you did mention, and just another to the greatness of Vic Fangio, but shutting down Mahomes, worst performance for Mahomes in any game, I would say. Certainly all the way up through the third quarter. But again, you go back to last year's schedule, you end up shutting down or really confusing, causing problems for Jordan Love. You did the same thing for after that in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Did the same thing for Jacksonville. Now, that was a little bit of a closer game towards the end, but for the vast majority of that one, same thing for, Dallas, but those were just a shell of their offenses, but still. And even Jaden Daniels. Now, they got the win in the second game, but there was the injury with Hurts and the offensive rhythm and flow. Like, that one looked like it was going to be just a runaway until the injury and kind of the momentum shifted there. But there's a lot of quarterbacks. You go back to Lamar Jackson, you get the win there, shut that offense down. How great the defense was able to keep him contained. So it's a night and day difference from the schematic point, even though it's like you mentioned, the Sean Desai disciple that was the previous year. Try to hold things together, even the Jonathan Gannett, but it's not the same as we've seen with Vic Fangio and being able to teach these players who are willing to learn. So, I'm excited about it. I know there's a reason that everybody is. Also, shout out to Kevin, who is listening from northern New Hampshire. I saw that comment. Anthony Two-Bomb. Appreciate that, Anthony. I have multiple of these, by the way. Let me get to these super chats. Anthony says, APR, Antoine Powell-Ryland makes the roster outright. Phantom toe coming up. Okay.
Phantom toe is like a phantom toe for another player to that way he gets a roster spot. Is that?
I assume
that's
what he's meaning.
I think that's what he means.
He makes it outright, so you stash another guy.
And listen, Antoine Powell-Ryland is somebody that there just wasn't a lot of news on during OTAs because they don't have pads on, right? We talked about Ty Robinson because he looked the part. Powell-Ryland didn't get drafted because got drafted so late, in the very, very, very end of the 7th round, because he doesn't look the part. He's a little small. And so when you don't have pads on, and you're not physically hitting each other, and you're not, going against Lane Johnson one-on-one at full speed with pads, it's really hard for us and people who are actually at practice to be like, ooh, ATP looks looks really good. This is going to be the guy. When we get to training camp, we're going to know real quick. very quick, and especially in preseason games, Josh, because he's going to be going up against the opposing team's third best tackle, fourth best tackles that won't even make the roster. He has a legit runway to just dart onto the stage and take a roster spot. And again, the same thing we mentioned at the top of the show, Azeez Ojulari is getting paid the highest of any free agent this offseason, but it's still nothing. Josh Uche is getting paid literally nothing. And you're telling me if they're the same at training camp, the same skill, if you can't differentiate, they're going to go with the guy they just drafted who's making even less money and on a rookie contract than an aging veteran 20 times out of 10 times, because that's how the NFL works. And so his chance is 100% there. At worst, he's going to be a practice squad guy. At worst. Yep. And we, of course, got plenty more stuff heading into next week. A lot more deep dives as well. We'll cover Eagle news whenever it hits. As mentioned, 25 days from training camp. That's going to go quick, but we're still going to have shows up until then. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe. And, again, check out the podcast. It's linked down below. And I appreciate if you guys would rate it 5 stars. Give it a listen. It's the same show you'd get here, just trying to expand the audience and let people find it in different ways. And so, again, let me know what you guys think. I'm Thomas Mott, hanging out here on the weekend. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.